This is just what I go through for the privilege of being a girl.
Hi everybody, I'm Vicki.
Hi Vicki.
That was so good. It was worth doing a third take. Good job, ladies. So, okay, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is very odd for us. Normally it's 11 o'clock in the morning. We've had our coffee. It's 5. Ann pointed, thank you, Ann. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why I'm so tired. And normally we do this first thing of the day. We're all ready to go. We're all electric. It's packed. It's a little different because it's the afternoon. It was a tough time for us, but we're here and we're going to have one at a time. Okay. So I just want to tell you. So in my life, I've invited 2 men on dates. I was told by my therapist that I needed to ask men because nobody asked me, so I need to ask. So I've asked 2 men. So the first man that I asked, it turned out he was 3 days in the recovery program from the sex addict. And he wasn't allowed to go out for coffee. Okay, the second guy, I asked to go to a party on Saturday night. He asked if he could bring his girlfriend.
You really know how to pick.
So, no, he didn't want a threesome. He just has a girlfriend. He was basically telling me, I'm not available. So, it's not working out. So, okay, so that'll be the next tough post. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so I want to thank the people that helped do this. And today it's been a little weird for everybody, but our new cameraman, Mikayel, please say thank you. He's wonderful. We love him. He wants to be a filmmaker, so it's wonderful that he's here on the day that Henry's going to speak to us because this is his aspiration. And Peggy Glenn, who is fantastic and wonderful.
Peggy Glenn.
Glenn, that's what I thought. Okay, and who else is here? And ladies, Linda Apsey, who takes the most extraordinary photographs. She took that amazing picture with Valerie. That's just crazy off the charts. I want to thank in absentia. Is that right? Yeah. Joanna Felino, who's been an angel to women who write. I want to thank Rick Smolke, who does our swag. I want to thank, and I want to thank Elle Latch, who checks everybody in. It is so wonderful. And I want to thank Viir, who's been doing our editing for us. It's so fantastic. And Kobe, who's not here. And Louise Palenka, who's not here. And J. Marshall Craig, who I miss terribly. Yes. And so there we are. Okay. I also want to say a personal thank you to Mary Navaria, who has been editing my stuff for me and saving me from looking like a total idiot on the Huffington Post.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much. My savior copy editor who, I don't know apostrophes and commas. I'm bad with that. I mess it up every time. So they saved me and make me look good. And thank you so very much. Okay, coming up on the 25th, like 10 days away. It's like right here. Beth Grant, who was in Henry's film Eating. Beth is on the Mindy project right now, and her IMDb is forever and ever and ever and ever. She's been in everything. She's gorgeous. She's a wonderful actress. She's going to be fantastic. Also, Julie Warner, who was the Michael J. Fox's wife in the girlfriend in Doc Hollywood. She was Billy Crystal's wife in Mr. Saturday Night. She's been in a ton of stuff. You're going to love her. And also, Catherine Lee Scott, who was in Dark Shadows and has written a bunch of books since and has a publishing company. And she's going to be reading to us. And Cindy Beagle's significant other, Robin Hild, who had a big hit in the 80s. Wait, I know that song. Wait, what's that song?
You don't know.
You don't know. Anyway, a big hit, and he's going to come and he's going to sing it to us with other things, which is fantastic. So that's exciting. Also, I got a call from Gary Marshall's office the other day if we would have his writing partner. Fred is going to come, and he wrote on the Joey Bishop Show, and he wrote on Bewitched, and Dick Van Dyke, and all these fantastic shows. So he's going to have fabulous things to tell us. And also Larry Dunn, Earth, Wind, and Fire, is going to come and play for us. Original Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yes, he is. Lily Tomlin, I've been going back and forth like almost, and I just need her to take a date. Roseanne Barr retweeted me yesterday that I'm trying to get her. I can't get her to. Patty Dukes keeps sending on the stuff. So we're just going to keep moving and knowing that these things will happen. 30-day writing challenge, the new one. Yay me. Get on the Women Who Write group, do it, write every day. Just has to be 5 minutes. Whatever you do, no matter how much, no matter how little, yay me. And everybody supports you and it's great. Okay, so we're just gonna move right on to get the show on the road. Tana Frederick can currently be seen on stage at the Edgemar Theater in a revival of The Rainmaker. They've been extended, and it's extraordinary. And she is extraordinary, and it's running until at least August, I understand now. Oh, September. Okay, misinformation on Facebook yesterday. Do not miss it, do not miss her. On the big screen, her most recent role was co-starring opposite Judd Nelson in Henry's highly acclaimed Just 45 Minutes from Broadway, which originated as a play, also at the Edgemar, and enjoyed a very successful run for over a year, which, as you know, in LA is like unheard of, so that's pretty extraordinary. Tanna earlier starred in 3 previous Henry Jaglom films for which she won great acclaim: Hollywood Dreams, Irene in Time, and Queen of the Lot. She recently completed principal photography on her 5th film collaboration with Henry, The M Word, before mentioned, co-starring Michael Imperioli, not bad, Corey Feldman, Francis Fisher, and Gregory Harrison, and about 10 of us in this room. And it'll be released later this year, in 2013.
Hopefully in the fall, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. And what we're gonna go as a group. We're gonna go in menopausal mass and sweat all over. We're just gonna sweat and drip all over the seats while we're there. I'm on the other side of that, which is really sad. I was on time for Henry's film, so it's perfect. Okay. On stage, Tanna has starred in Echoes at the Coronet Theater and in Henry's first play, A Safe Place, at the Skylight Theater. Last year, she directed for the first time on stage and also co-starred in Why We Have a Body. The year prior, she played to enormous acclaim the title role of the dog, and I saw it, in A.R. Gurney's famed Sylvia. She was so adorable. A production that had originally opened at the Sierra Madre Playhouse before being transferred and restaged at the Edgemar by her longtime collaborator and director, Gary Imhoff. I know him. He's my co-star. I can't say his name. Say it again. Imhoff. Gary Imhoff. Okay. It too just barely reached the 1-year mark, which it's just unbelievable that these shows are running so long. It's pretty crazy. Last year, Tanna received the Distinguished Young Alumni Award from her alma mater, the University of Iowa. Other awards include Best Actress in a Feature Film by many film festivals from Houston to Fargo to Wyoming, and the Iowa Independent Film Festival in her home state, which she was instrumental in creating 5 years earlier. In her determination to encourage local filmmakers in Iowa to bring more filmmaking there, and local and outside, she originated Project Cornlight, which was produced with all Iowa crew and cast, its first feature film, The Farm, in which she stars. And that'll also be released. You're gonna have 2 films coming out this year? Wow! Tanna has, such a slacker. Tanna has recently won the prestigious Maverick Award from the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival. An ardent runner and surfer, I've seen the pictures. Her concerns since moving to California for the health of our oceans led her several years ago to found Project Save Our Surf, a nonprofit in which she remains extremely active, which also raises funds for fresh water as well as ocean conservation. She is using her increasing visibility to actively support many vital clean water initiatives, from Central America to South Africa to right here in Southern California. A beautiful soul and a powerful woman. Please help me welcome Tana Frederick.
Okay, so as Henry usually does in his films, like he announces things a minute before we're gonna do them and then keeps me in the dark. And so he was very adamant that I didn't plan anything for this. I know I was gonna maybe do my commencement speech from with that, but I'm not. But Henry wants to do something, so I'm gonna introduce Henry unless you want to introduce Henry.
All right, give me a second.
Not a long introduction.
All right. We'll keep it fairly short, but there are people here that need to know. So, Tanna, you can stay.
They know.
No, they don't know.
Those who don't know by this point should not bother.
Stop.
How you feel?
All right. Thanks to Harry and Andrea. I first approached Henry on the Facebook. That's how I found him. And we started a conversation, and it was very lovely. And then we got into a little
we
argument.
started arguing.
We started arguing. I wrote a piece for the Huffington Post. I was sure he was going to take me out of his movie, but he didn't.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We started arguing because you kept using the word fuck.
Correct.
In all endless posts.
That's correct.
And it began to bother me.
Correct.
And I said, why are you using fuck all the time? Are your literary skills that limited? And you put forth a feminist version, which seemed belated to me, that somehow the freedom to use fuck, which I thought we'd established back in the 60s, was your calling card. You've noticeably declined in the use of fuck, and whether you like it or not.
I have 3 fucks on my page right now.
I read every single one of your posts, and they have become more literary, more literate, and less dependent on fuck.
Well, I have to say that I got, because of our discussion, I had a very successful Huffington Post article because of our discussion. And then Henry was fabulous because he didn't hold it against me. And not only that, but when we got on set, he was disappointed when I didn't say fuck during a take, and he asked me to do it for the next take. So he's fantastic. Okay, I just want to do this really quickly. Okay. He trained with Lee Strasberg. Do you know, he was in Gidget and the Flying Nun. Do you know? Okay, because we all watch those shows, so that's like crazy, and we want to hear about that. Okay, I'm going quickly. He was in Jack Nicholson's Drive. Dennis Hopper's... Drive, he said. Dennis Hopper's the last movie, and someone's here was Dennis Hopper's... she was his legal guardian. You know? Yes.
You know my mom, Rita Rogers.
Of course I do.
Desi from Arrow.
No, I know Rita, certainly.
Okay, and he was in Orson Welles, never completed The Other Side of the World. Henry began his filmmaking... Win! See, you're rushing me. He began his filmmaking career with Jack Nicholson editing Hopper's Easy Rider. He edited Easy Rider. Okay, we want to hear about that. He made his directing debut with A Safe Place starring Tuesday Weld, Jack Nicholson, and Orson Welles. His next film track starred Dennis Hopper and was one of his earliest movies to explore the psychological cost of American Vietnam War. Okay. He did, Zach was supposed to be here today, he got lost, he couldn't find it, he called twice, I couldn't get him here. I wanted to surprise you, he's been in every one of your films, correct?
No, but most.
Almost all, okay, so Zach wanted to be here. Okay, and so has your brother, Michael's been in almost all of Henry's films as well. Well, okay. All right, he's made, okay. He co-starred in 4 of his most personal, all right, he co-starred in almost 4 of his personal films, Always, Someone to Love, Orson Welles in his final film performance, New Year's Day, and he introduced David Duchovny. Okay.
And Francis Fisher.
And then he had a women's trilogy. And Karen Black.
And me.
No, I didn't introduce Karen
You
Black.
didn't?
No.
Oh, see?
I have a great film with Karen Black. I think it's her best, one of her best films.
And she baked a cherry pie.
And she
Yeah,
baked a
cherry pie. And then he did a trilogy for women, which is Henry is all about women and all about intimate. He's a film maverick, and we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to read the rest of this because you're just going to. Welcome Henry Jaglom. And Tana Frederick.
So
Welcome again. Clap again.
never clap when you're told to clap. That is my philosophy. Since we collaborate in writing our films, the way I work, as about 10 people here do know, hello, is that I write the outline for the movies. I write sometimes, I certainly write the narrative structure, where the movie is heading, important turns and so on. We need to know what clothing people are wearing, how they change, what the days look like. But within all of that, I encourage spontaneity. I encourage the people, once they have accomplished what I need, what has been said, that has to be said for the storyline to continue in their own words. And frequently that is so much better than anything that I've written, that is what ends up in the film. Therefore, Tana is the foremost example of that for me, which is why we are making our 5th film together. We made our 5th film, which is coming out in the fall, and we're going to shoot in 2 months our 6th film, Ovation. The reason, selfishly for me, is laziness. It is, I put together the film, I get the idea, the structure, the overview, but I've got an actress here who is a brilliant writer, who spontaneously can create a character that can turn on a dime, make you think, oh my God, I want to encompass that, that's important, that's valuable, and throw away this other stuff that I wrote and dig into it. So the result is that when we make our films, and I wrote a couple of the books, I didn't know if we were going to read, because you said something about reading.
Yeah.
So I just bought Hollywood Dreams, and which one did I bring?
Well, you have the new one.
No, this is the Orson book. This is
Yeah.
not my book. I'll tell you about that. Just 45 minutes from Broadway, which was the play. And so we thought we were going to read.
Good.
So we marked a passage that we could read together. Yes.
Yeah, the
Which one?
opening of Hollywood Dreams?
Well, then we don't have to read together because.
Then we have to read together.
Oh, and that's actually very interesting because I didn't know for sure any of this about Tanna. I met her, she was working for me, she was like a starving actress, so I hired her to work as an assistant in our office, which
I
was,
put up posters
she
for
put up posters.
festival in Cannes all over LA.
Was it for festival in Cannes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my God.
Stickers and stuff.
And she was great on the phone, and she did everything that was necessary in the office. And I'm trying to remember if I came to her. I knew she was a struggling actress.
I was in a class, and you gave me.
I came to her. She was a struggling actress, and I came to her. I remembered that my first play, which I'd written all the way back when I was in my early 20s at the Actors Studio in New York, which Karen Black had then played, and I'd done for Lee Strasberg and Harold Clurman at the studio, was a safe place. And I said to her, listen, you're the first person I've met since then who reminds me of this character I wrote, which Karen Black and in the movie Tuesday Weld played. I think you might like to do a scene from it or something in your acting class. And she said, okay. She took it and came back to me within 2 to 3 weeks and said, it's all set. I said, I beg your pardon? What is all set? She said, well, I got a producer, I got a director, I got the financing, I got the theater, and we're going to put on your play. I said, it's a 35-year-old play. It's never been put on commercially. She said, well, we're going to do it at the Skylight Theater in North Hollywood and Los Feliz. Is that not North Hollywood?
No, it's all East of Santa Monica.
I have no idea where anything is. I've been living in this town for 35 years. And so she did, and she was spectacular.
Yeah.
And when I saw how spectacular she was in this incredibly difficult and complicated role, I realized that I had found this person that I wanted to be the muse for all of my work. And every film since then has starred her, has been motivated by her, and has been co-written, even though she doesn't get the credit. Which is a complicated thing. We decided early on, we discussed the credit, and we decided that we wanted people to realize what an extraordinary actress she was. I was afraid, and I think it's legitimate, that if people knew she was coming up with this, it wouldn't seem like an actress who had read a script and become the character, but it would be just like, oh, this is her. And even as we did it, we got some of that. We kept changing the characters, obviously, and there are so many facets to her that people finally got it, and then she's a brilliant actress. But that was how that evolved. So we have a scene here, which was but at the beginning, I didn't know if she could act. I just knew she was this fascinating creature, covered with red hair and 40 pounds more of weight, and extraordinarily unattractive, red lipstick that sort of blocked out her face. She was not showing herself, this beauty. And I said to her, well, we have to do a screen test. Let's go down I had a little office area downstairs which I could use, and let's shoot a screen test. We shot a screen test in 16 millimeter, even though my films are in 35, we shot a 16 millimeter screen test. And this is the one we're going to read, the screen test. And because of this, I said, you've got the job. And you've got every job since then that I'm interested in doing for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So you've got to see it to understand it. This is her little face then. It's a little baby face.
How many years ago was it?
This was in 19...
No.
In 2000,
2004, 5?
Was that the screen test in the movie?
and that's the screen test. That is the first scene in the movie. It
Yeah.
Was a real screen
was a real
test?
screen test.
Yeah.
Shot downstairs in the the storage room downstairs.
But I, before we read it, I just want to say I want to give credit to the University of Iowa and the writers program there, because I double majored with honors in political science and acting, but my honors thesis project was writing a one-woman show about like my childhood and adolescence and growing up, and so that was my. So writing became a really strong format, or a really strong tool for me at University of Iowa, and everybody was always doing new stuff and throwing new stuff in, and I would do these crazy new plays with crazy plots, and so working with Henry just kind of fit what I had been in, like all the craziness that I had done.
But she wanted very much to succeed in this, was frustrated because she wasn't sure she was, started crying, gave herself permission to cry fully and laugh and do everything, which of course makes one brilliant. People who can do all these things at the same time are astonishing. And reading it is not going to capture it for you, so you've got to go and rent yourself Hollywood Dreams after to see what she really did. But we'll do our best at reading you the first thing that took place between us professionally and the one that's resulted in extraordinary collaboration in life as well as on film.
Okay.
Okay, so it says interior, a casting office day. Margie Chizik sits in front of a camera at an audition for a play. A small crew sets up around her. Director, voiceover, off camera. Give us some key lighting. An assistant adds a highlight to Margie's face. Director, voiceover. That's okay, good, leave it. Get the camera on. I'm trying to get in as close as I can. To Margie. Hi,
Hi.
look at me. Okay, to the lighting guy. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, let's go. Assistant says one more time. Second assistant says speed. Director, Chizik, that you? Sorry. Hi.
Hi.
And she begins to cry. What's the matter?
Sorry, I'm really nervous right now.
What's the matter?
I'm just nervous.
Where do you come from?
The beach.
The beach gets you nervous?
No, I was trying to lie on the beach so that I could relax when I came here, but I have so many problems. I just can't seem to relax ever. When I go to any auditions ever, and all I want to do is act and be an actress. But it's no use if you can't even relax, right? Sorry, that's too much information. You didn't need to know all that.
No, I want to know all that.
Okay.
Want to settle down? Would you like something to drink or something before?
Nope.
You got a water there, huh?
I got water.
Okay, all right. Hi.
Hi.
Don't be nervous. This is just us chatting here.
Okay.
Would you like to be in this play?
I would love to be in this play.
Have you ever read the script?
Yeah, I read the whole thing.
Then why are you crying?
It's a gorgeous script.
Oh, thank you.
Do you want me to do a monologue from it? Because I memorized it for you.
You did? Sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I will. Can I just have a second?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I didn't expect that. I thought we were just doing the interview.
Well, I just...
No, it's fine.
Okay.
She smiles and nods, looks down, looks back up into the camera, and does this from the play.
You have lights in your eyes. They have dawn in them and green grass and something. I've been noticing people's eyes a lot lately. Not eyes, but eyeballs. And some people seem to have lights that come out of the center. Something is so alive in them. A quality of hopefulness. of love. And you've got them lights that are always on, little twinkle lights, little sparkle lights. Sparkly lights. I'm sorry, I forgot it.
Some people,
Just a second, okay.
some people.
My father used to be all dead in his eyes too, but sometimes
Start that again.
my father used to be all dead in his eyes, but sometimes, every once in a while, the lights will come on.
Well, did you memorize it? I thought you memorized this. Did you memorize the script?
Yeah, I did.
Well, I'm sorry, miss, but we can't,
Please let me do it again.
No, I really don't.
No, please, just let me pick it up, please.
Well, I think we've seen enough.
My brother used to be all dead in his eyes, but sometimes, every once in a while, the light would come out from behind the center of his eyeballs, and I could see them from across the room. They would come on and go off like Christmas lights on a tree, because he had life and death juggling around inside of him like crazy.
No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you prepared this, but it.
Okay.
Did you prepare anything else? Any of the other monologues?
Yeah, but I need the script for them.
Okay.
I can do a Barbra Streisand impression. Is there room for a Barbra Streisand in this play?
That's it. Starting with that collaboration, we are now about to make our 6th movie together. And I don't know about you, but for me, there's nothing more interesting than a human being who can do this. Mm-hmm. So I build the movies now around her, and we collaborate in that process. And then during the film, she takes it away from me and just goes places. And all the other actors have to scurry around and catch up with her. And we get some wonderful actresses, and they do. So that's that.
Can I go on for 45 minutes?
Do you
That I wrote.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm proud of this.
This-
And I didn't get credit, so I get to say it in front of you guys and read it.
Right.
Okay. It's like the sick joke of life. You are born so close to this one other person. You're just two little creatures who are closer than anything else in the world, and so often holding on to one another for everything, for survival. And then you grow up, and it all changes. And suddenly, at some point, the person that you are closest to, the person you shared everything with and loved the most, is gone. She can't even stand being around you, and you live apart from one another for the rest of your lives, maybe sharing a frustrating family holiday or two together at best, but it's never like it was. It's never, again, like you thought it would always be.
But contrary to what actors believe after they've done them, she didn't write that.
Yes, I did.
I wrote that about myself and my brother.
No, you didn't.
And see the confusion that
Bullshit.
and we both believed completely.
No. I got in a fight with my brother and was crying and wrote this all down and gave it to Henry to put it in the play, but he takes credit for everything after I've written it.
And either in my fantasy or in reality, I 100% remember writing that scene.
This so has to be in your movie.
Because this play and then the film, Just 45, which is about these two sisters, is actually about my brother and myself.
I know that particular passage.
So that's an example. Those are two examples. You can go away. Those are two examples of what she's not telling me what to do all the time. She's usually right. Talk about Orson. She said, "Well, you wanted this is about books. So I had nothing to do with this book, but this book is coming out in, this book is called My Lunches with Orson.
You had nothing to do with it?
Let me explain.
Do you guys want stools? So you can
No, it's much more fun to stand, because if we have stools, we're going to be looking at the tops of heads. This is why we work so great together. I say something, she ignores it, and it works. She's almost always right. Almost always. I wrote the other scene. She had nothing to do with this, but I had nothing to do with this. The truth is that in the mid-1980s, early 1980s, Orson Welles and I were great, great, great friends. He had acted for me in my first place, A Safe Place, which I had tricked him into acting into it, because I didn't have a script for it, and he refused to even consider it. Anyway, I got him to do it. And he gave me the most important advice anybody has given me one day during the shooting of that film. I was having a lot of trouble. I was trying to create my own kind of filmmaking, which was not conventional Hollywood filmmaking. My director of cinematography was a man named Dick Cretina, who had just come from Love Story. And this was for Columbia Pictures, and to get the money for it, I had written a script, but I had no intention of sticking to that script. But I got into the situation because I had cut Easy Rider. Easy Rider had been such a success, they gave me a chance to make my own movie, something they regretted profoundly. But in trying to make this movie truly individual, and I recommend all of you, but unfortunately it's the only one of my films that is only on DVD, either by illegally contacting me at my office, and you can get a copy, or by buying this whole set of BBS films from Criterion, which includes 5 Easy Pieces, Last Picture Show, Easy Rider, and a lot of wonderful films, and a beautifully rendered version of mine. Where was I going with this?
Writing it. Writing it.
Right. Getting to the book.
Thank you. Exactly. So I was.
Oh, the good advice.
No, the advice
that's
of
good
Orson
advice.
Welles.
Yeah, that leads to that. Right. So exactly. Those are the 2 key points that I needed to be reminded of. So because I was not writing it, because I was violating the script even then, and because I was saying to the actors, well, forget what's written, try this and that. I had 2 actors in it, Jack Nicholson and Tuesday Weld, who were very close friends of mine, and they were really interesting people. And I had written a really good love scene for them. And as much as they did it, it wasn't as good as I knew them to be. My writing, which I thought was terrific, did not capture what is incredible about the 2 of them. So I said to them after 7 takes or 8 takes, I said, look, you know what the scene's about. Just you do this, you get this, and get that going. You came here because so-and-so kicked you out, and then you're here and he's visiting. Do it in your own words, and it was heaven. It was magnificent. And from then on, I threw away my script, didn't pay any attention to it, and started trying to create the film in the way that I've ultimately learned to create films. My cinematographer and my crew, all of whom were, this was the Vietnam War was going on. I showed up with a ponytail and white Capezio dance shoes. They were not happy with me. The next day they all sported little American flag lapel pins and didn't really want to do anything that I wanted. And when I asked them to try this shot of that, they kept saying it won't cut. It won't cut. This doesn't fit into the script. Where is that? You didn't write that. It won't cut. And that evening, Orson Welles, newly arrived on the set, not yet my friend, said to me, well, how's it going? You look like you're trying to do something kind of interesting. I said, I hope I am, but everything I say to them, they tell me it won't cut, it won't cut. And that's their answer to everything. And he says, tell them it's a dream sequence. And I said, tell them it's a what? Why? He said, just do that. So the next morning, sure enough, I asked for this. They said to me, oh, no, that won't cut. That's not in the pages. That won't cut. I said, it's a dream sequence. A dream sequence? What if I get on my back and I can do it like this, and then the lighting can, and they suddenly invented and wonderfully, creatively contributed. And I went to Orson at lunch and I said, what is this? And he said, you understand these people are hardworking, solid people whose whole lives have been very structured. And it's all based upon solid structure and security. They don't have the freedom to explore except in their dreams. In their dreams they know that there are no rules. So if you give them the fact that it's a dream sequence, it frees them to go places creatively and allow themselves to really, and they were wonderful for the rest of the film. We became, Orson and I, great friends. He was going through a terrible, difficult period of getting financing. He put together a film which I acted in called The Other Side of the Wind, which he couldn't get finished, and a lot of bad stuff, difficult things. He was also the most wonderful companion in the world, and we had lunches 2 or 3 times a week, frequently, for 6 or 7 years. I taped the last 3 years of our lunches because he felt that someday he wanted to do his autobiography. He didn't want to be aware of the tape, so I put it in the corner of his little black bag I always carried, because he asked me that he didn't want to be to remind him that it was there. But he thought it would be a great thing to be able to count on for his autobiography. I said, when are you going to write your autobiography? He said, when I'm too old to make film. And unfortunately, he did not live to write his autobiography. And all these tapes that I had, 80, 90, maybe 100 of them, sat in the corner of my office for 30 years. People talked to me about them from time to time, but it just didn't make sense. The people weren't the right people. And finally, a very, very important film writer in America named Peter Biskind, he wrote a biography of Warren Beatty last year called Star, and he wrote famously Easy Riders, Raging Bulls about the 70s in Hollywood. Asked to see them. I gave them to him. He transcribed them all, which was not an easy job. They were in restaurants with noises, and he spent a year making this book, which is coming out next month. And if you ever want to know what Orson Welles was really like, My Lunches with Orson will show you him in all his irascibility and his charm and his humor and his bigotry in many ways, his anger, his hurt, his joy. It's quite a great. It's the only way to get to know, for those of you who are interested, Orson Welles. So that's the book part of this.
Wow.
This is what she whispered to me. Read a part of it. No, but listen to the rest of what she said. Read a part of it. The part about dog farting. Orson Welles, one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century. She wants me to find the part, which I have no idea where it is.
Just go to the index.
There is no.
Look up fart.
There is no index. There is no index to this.
Can you be Orson and
There's a-
Henry? I would love to hear a little bit of that.
There's a great introduction by Peter Biskind, by the way, which really is the best, even by itself, the best understanding of what Orson's life was about. So it's a book which is where is it available? What's it called? Amazon and Barnes and all of those. No, we can't find the farting.
I can.
No. Come on. I don't think I need to read this
Okay, well,
because
just a little part of something.
it's a spontaneous show in case you didn't know.
That's how you work, Henry.
Any questions? Which is what I like.
Is it mostly transcribed conversations?
It is all transcribed.
It's just the real deal.
It is the real deal. He just took them and rearranged them according to subject in certain instances. Never changed a word. It is Orson speaking and me speaking in private conversation, which we both knew nobody would ever hear. And it is extraordinary, and it is funnier than anything you've ever read. This man was, and of course for me, it's like entering the past. It's like having these lunches again. It's a great gift, and Biskind is a great editor, and he did a sensational job. And you can't do this stuff.
People are asking questions.
Is it indicated as to what year it was or when it was each time?
Yes,
Okay,
it's only those years of 83, 84, and 85, the last 2 years of his life. You have to make a mind somewhere.
Did you want to have any input, or did you have any input on the actual editing
No.
of what ended up in the book?
Well, no, except for 3 times. I said to him that anything how did I put that? Anything that Orson said, anything, I can't remember. As long as it was accurate, I had no objection to anything being said. And then I changed that and asked him to take out 3 things about friends of mine, which were extremely unpleasant. unnecessary, and didn't help the book. They were famous friends, so the publisher wanted to keep them in for all of those kind of reasons. And he agreed. I mean, I wouldn't let him publish the book otherwise. Other than that, one thing about Spielberg, one thing about Peter Bogdanovich, and one other thing I just wanted, it was just hurtful, and there was no reason for it. But believe me, there's plenty of hurtful stuff in there. There are people who are going to be shocked. I mean, when...
Can you tell us one good lunch?
Yeah.
You don't have to read it. Can you just tell us one of your favorite lunches, one of your favorite conversations with them?
Richard Burton, Burton comes over to the table and says, we always sat right inside at a round table at the Grand Maison, and there was an outdoor area, and Richard Burton comes over, and to me, oh my God, it's Richard Burton, and Orson introduces us, and then he says, Richard says, Elizabeth is outside, meaning Elizabeth Taylor, and she would love to see you. Can I bring her in? And Orson says, no, it's just... and I kick him under the table. And he's wearing these great, he had some kind of ankle problem or knee problem. So he wore big black boots. And I kicked him. And he gave me a dirty look, and he said, just tell her I'll come by on the way out. And hot for you?
It's warm.
I want you to know that was it Shelley Winters, if you know who she was.
Yeah.
Shelley Winters I was an apprentice in Westport at the County Playhouse, and a play was going on. And everybody started finding it very hot because I had not done my job of putting ice into this thing where they blew the ice through the whole theater. This was pre-air conditioning. They blew the ice. And I had said to the iceman, no, there's more than enough. And it was incredibly hot. And the whole audience was doing what you were doing, kind of, only with their programs. And Shelley Winters stopped in the middle of the play, screamed at the audience, "You're waving the white flag at me. Look, this is what happens. He comes in, he falls in love with me. I say no, I go with him. Curtain." And she got kicked out of Equity for 6 months. So I kick him again when he says, I kick Orson again when he says, tell Elizabeth I'll see her on the way out or something. And he says, and he repeats to him, I'm sorry, just say hello for me and I'll say. And then Burton sheepishly goes out. This is Burton. To imagine Burton being sheepish is a really hard thing. Oh, that's what Orson's presence did to people, And it was nonsense. It was all because of his little nose, he said. He was so insecure about having a tiny little nose that he said he had to create this whole persona. That's another story. It's in there too. And so I said to him, this is impossible behavior. This is why people have this idea about you. You're impossible. How dare you speak to him like this? And that's Elizabeth Taylor out there, and she wants to come in and say hello. And you treat her or him like this terrible thing. He said, I don't need a Jewish Jiminy Cricket. He said, I don't need you to be my Jewish conscience. And don't kick me there because I've got problems, as you know, in my ankles. And a Jewish Jiminy Cricket. And I kicked him many times. Because sometimes it worked, sometimes... Oh, another wonderful story. I'm sorry, no, it's better this way. Another wonderful story is a woman comes over and introduces herself as Lee Minnelli, which means that she's the wife of Vincent Minnelli, the great film director. I don't know if you all know who Minnelli was. Good, literate group. Okay, good. So and who was married to Judy Garland, yes, and mother of Liza, and two other children, and Lorna, and who's the third?
Lorna and Joey.
Joey, good.
Wow.
Right, you are. So she, but this woman is not the mother of any of them. She is the latest wife, which is also interesting since he was gay. So I don't understand this completely at all. She was the wife of Lee Manella, of Vincent Minnelli. And she comes over to Orson and introduces herself and says, "Hi, I'm." "Oh, of course," he says. "How are you?" And makes an effort, stands up, and introduces me. And she says, "I'm so happy to see you. You know, Vincent has not been well. You know, he's been in the hospital." And Orson said, "I know. I heard. I was so sorry to hear it." And she says, "He's home now, resting, and he will be so happy to." He talks about you so often, and he'll be so happy to hear that we ran into each other. That you know, that's really wonderful. And Orson said, "Well, I miss him, and please give him my best regards." And she said, "Oh, he will be so. It means so much. So many times your name comes up in stories and things." Orson says, "And in my stories too, his name comes up all the time. Just please give him my best. Give me." And this long, sincere thing goes on until she finally says goodbye. And then Orson turns to me and says, "Now, you know what's interesting about that? I have never met." He said, "You've just seen Hollywood at work."
Yeah.
No, but I mean, he could admire Orson and his name come up in conversation.
No, she was saying, she was referring to the friendship that they had, the intimate conversation. A number of times her husband had mentioned hanging out with Orson Welles,
I see, I didn't get
which probably she made up, because she wanted to talk to Orson Welles.
Exactly.
The point was, this was Hollywood, any way you cut it, and he roared with laughter. At my shock. I was still a little naive. What have you done?
No, it's not bad. It's just interesting.
In which Orson and Rita Hayworth, who were separated, were reunited to make The Lady from Shanghai. He denies cutting.
It's a chapter of it.
That's because you like Rita Hayworth and want to do a one-woman show.
Well, women want to hear about their relationship, or maybe.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I'll tell you something better than this. Better than this about Rita. Listen to me. I'm at the Cannes Film Festival with Orson. I brought him there in 1983. He is very large. People are sure he cannot direct a film anymore because he's not even ambulatory. He goes around sometimes in a wheelchair, which we hide and everything. I put him in front of the big hotel at a table, and I let the word be known that Orson Welles is there, and soon the press is flocking from everybody and the public, and he's holding court with his cigar, and he's got a big white jacket over and a big black fluffy sort of scarf here, and he's holding forth, and I'm sitting next to him, and he takes his cigar, which was always going on. He had his cigar lit, and he flicks it, and the ashes fall on his white jacket, and he does this and turns to me and whispers to me, "Rita will kill me." Now, this was 30 years after Rita was gone. So that night at dinner, I said to him, "Do you know what happened today?" He said, "Yes, you made me sit there and look like a fool in front of all those people." I said, "No, beside that, what do you know that you said, you dropped an ash and you did it, and that you said that Rita would," he said, "Did I say that?" I said, "Yes, you did." He said, "Once you love them, you always love them." It was 30 years later.
Just read a little of this conversation.
Oh my God, okay. Henry Jaglom. I have no idea if this is nearly as good, and I don't like the top stories with worse stories. It's against all the laws of show business. In which Orson and Rita Hayworth, who were separated, were reunited to make The Lady from Shanghai. He denies cutting her red tresses to get back at her for kicking him out. Oh, I've got another great story I could tell. Okay. He recalls that she stuck by him when he tried to leave Hollywood to do good work. Henry Jaglom. Rita worked for Harry Cohn at Columbia, didn't she? Orson. Yes. He thought he was a great lover. He chased Rita around the desk all the years she was there. She was always on suspension. Me. I just saw a Lady from Shanghai again. She's so good in it. Orson. Are you kidding? She was magnificent. And she thought she wasn't, and nobody in the town would give her any credit for it. Henry. It makes you realize what a waste her career was. Orson. She was a really talented actress who never got a chance. Henry. They say that you ruined her in that film. Cut off her famous red locks. Dyed what was left blonde without telling Harry Cohn. Orson. Yes, that was supposed to be my vengeance on her for leaving me. I made her character a killer and cut off her hair and all that. That's pretty profound psychological work, isn't it? Why would I want vengeance? I fucked around on everyone, and that's hard on a girl. Very hard. Did she believe that vengeance business? Oh no, never. She always thought it was the best picture of her life, defended me and it. I was going to make a nice little B picture with a girl I brought over from Paris and get out, you know, in 20 days. I wasn't going to get any money for it, so Rita came and cried, begged to do it. And of course I said yes, so suddenly I'm stuck with the studio's bread and butter girl, from whom I've been separated for a year. I was dragged back into the marriage and the movie. Henry, you were not divorced yet? Orson, no. So then we were reunited, had to be, no other way to direct the picture. I moved back in with her. It wasn't really like working with an ex-wife because we still loved each other. Then the hairdressers and people got after her. They worked her up with stories about who I was screwing. It's a regular Hollywood thing, all those people who live off the stars. She was deeply suspicious of everybody. She'd been so terribly hurt in her life, she wouldn't believe that I would not do that to her. So she threw me out. I was devastated. Do you want me to keep going? Had you the intention of staying with her, even though she was an alcoholic and depressed? Orson, forever? Yeah. Because I knew she needed me desperately. I would have stayed with her till she died. There was nobody else who would have taken care of her like I would. I didn't know that she would be that sick. Henry, and you didn't mind that? Orson, it doesn't matter whether you mind it or not. You do it. Henry, some people do it, some don't. Orson, yes, I'm a terribly guilty conscience person. Henry, but you loved her also. Orson, I loved her, yeah, very much. But by that time, not sexually. I had to work myself up to fuck her. She had become such a figure of lust that she just wanted to be a housewife. Marlene called her the perfect hausfrau. You know what Rita used to say? They go to sleep with Rita Hayworth and wake up with Marguerite Carmen Cancino. And she'd been so wonderful to me, absolutely wonderful. When I almost died of hepatitis, she spent 5 months with me while I recovered, and she never did anything except take care of me. When I said to her, I want to give up the movies and theater, will you do that with me? She said yes, and it goes on. But apropos of that, I have one quick other story in conjunction to that, which breaks my heart. Orson says, I'm having trouble in my first marriage. And I'm on the floor at my house. If any of you have seen Always, my film about that, you know how wiped out I was. And maybe a year had gone by, and I still was I was barely ambulatory, and I didn't want to go out and have lunches with him or anything. And he called me up and said, "What are you doing?" And I was crying. And I said, "I'm watching soap operas." There's such truth in this. And Orson said, "Oh my God, get out of there immediately. You've got to get out of there immediately." I said, "I can't, you should see me." And he said, "Put on your dark glasses, put on your hat, come to lunch. I've got a story to tell you that'll make you feel all better." I said, "Orson, that's not fine. Come here immediately." It's Orson. So I dragged myself, and I tried to, and I went to lunch, which we had a corner table inside, so that was good. Nobody else could see us. So I said, "What's the story?" He said, "What story?" "You have a story to tell me that's going to make it." "Oh, yes, okay." Well, I wasn't a saint like you know. I fucked around. I fucked around all the time when Rita threw me out, so I deserved to be thrown out. He said, "But with women, you have to be the cool center of their being. You have to just be there no matter what they do, and stay there. And eventually it will work if it's the right person." And I said, she laughed at this. Now I don't know what to do. He said, "Listen, I and Rita separated. We were no longer together. And I flew to Rome, and I was working on a film, and I met this little girl. Not very interesting, not very attractive, nothing special about her, just I was mad for her. Who knows why? You know, these things happen. I was mad for her. I was chasing her all over Italy. She wasn't having anything to do with me." He said, and I got a phone call. I told you this. And I got a phone call from Rita, from Cannes. from that hotel. You know that hotel? And I said, yes, I do. He said, so she said, you must come here immediately. You must come here immediately. I've got to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. I said, but I can't. I'm in Rome, and to be truthful with you, I'm chasing this little girl all over the planet, and then she's trying. And she really said, just come here. Just come here. I need you to be here. What could I do? This was Rita. I love her. He gets on one of those night planes with like little propeller planes with delivering milk or whatever. The way he pictured it was like a little milk train, but I realized it was a milk. I don't know if there were milk planes, but he made it sound like that. And he arrived in the middle of the night in Cannes, and he says to me, "So I went to that hotel. You know that hotel?" I said, "Yes." And then I went up to that suite at the top. You know that suite? I said, "Yes." And the door opened, and there was Rita with her hair, red hair all down, and she was wearing this gorgeous gown and peignoir set, which was flowing, and she was spectacularly beautiful. And the doors, the gate up to the ocean, to the Mediterranean, were all open. And you know that air, you know that smell. I said, yes, yes. He said that hit me, and her beauty, and she had this perfume on, and she was, and she asked me to come in, and she said, listen, I was wrong. You were right. I love you. I want you back. And he said, but it's too late. I've got this little girl that's driving me mad. I'm chasing her all over Italy. I just don't feel we can. Rita said, I want you back. It's going to be okay. And Orson said, no, it can't be. I'm sorry. It's too late. No, I'm thinking, this is supposed to be the story that's going to cheer me up. How exactly are we going to do this? And I'm going, yeah. And I'm really waiting for the punchline, but somehow in my mind I know they didn't end up together. So how can it be a happy ending? It's not going to work for me, obviously. And he says, well, that's it. I said, what do you mean that's it? He said, I flew back to, I held her while she fell asleep crying, but I kept looking at my watch on the other arm to see what time it was, if I could catch the connecting plug, because all I could think about was that girl. And I said, well, what's your point? Why did you get me here to tell me this terrible story? And he said, because in 3 or 4 years, you'll be chasing or interested in somebody else, and she'll want you back, and it'll be too late. And it's a devastating story. And I said, Orson, that's not what I want. I want it to work. I want 2 people and the whole thing. And well, that's the terrible story. He said, that's life. And it was it was really disappointing. It was really not what we wanted to hear, what I wanted to hear. You want to say something?
She needs to do the one-woman show.
She's been working on a one-woman show about Rita Hayworth. At the first New Year's Eve party I had that I invited her while she was still working in my office and before we were very involved with each other. She had a date. Who was it? No less than Jennifer Jones. You know who Jennifer Jones was? Who was at the party. Looked at her and said, looked like Rita Hayworth. And she had a whole emotional kind of response to her. Anyway, I don't know if any questions, anything that anybody
How did you meet Orson? How did you guys connect to begin with?
Peter Bogdanovich knew him, had written a monograph for the Museum of Modern Art. I said I want him in my first picture. He said he won't do somebody's first picture. I said, why not? Citizen King was his first picture. He said, I just know him and he won't do it. Besides, you don't write scripts, you have the idea and then you're going to, he said, look, just tell me where he is and make an appointment. So he made an appointment. He was in New York, he was at the Plaza Hotel. I took an elevator up to the top floor and this gigantic man in purple silk pajamas enters the door, opens the door for me and I come in and he says, what is it? I said, I'm Henry Jaglom. So what? I said, I'm here because Peter Bogdanovich arranged an appointment. I want to talk about what? About being in a movie. Where's the script? I said, well, it's the kind of movie that if you're not in it, it's not going to have a script for your part because we're going to create the part based upon the part. He said, I don't do that sort of thing. He said, and you've never made a film. He said, this would be your first film. I said, Citizen Kane was your first film. And he said, well, okay, I'll sit here, but I won't listen. Gigantic purple drape, sat down, crossed his arms on his belly, and looked in the other direction. And I started selling the story and realized I was not doing well. And I started making up I remembered that Orson in real life was a magician. So I started creating a character. I said, but you know, there's something very special about this guy. I said, what? He said, he's a magician, so what? He tries to make something disappear, but he can't do it. What? I said, he keeps trying to make something disappear. And he said, well, what is it? I said, unless you play the part, you won't find out. And he looked at me and he said, can I wear a cape? I am, something's wrong with me. No, I mean that. My brother keeps telling me. Something is wrong with me. I have never been intimidated. Twice I have not spoken to people, so maybe that's a form of intimidation. On the airplane once with Fellini, I walked past him 3 times, and I just didn't know what to say. I'm Henry Jaglom, he wouldn't know who that was, what's the point? And, you know, and one time I pushed myself into it with Mel Brooks. I pushed myself into it, and with good results. But I'm just not intimidated. I don't. So it was just I was going to sell Orson Welles and being in my first movie because I wanted him in my first movie. Wow. So that was it, and I would, you know. So.
What happened with Mel?
When I first met him at Downey's restaurant, I saw it was Mel Brooks, and I fell to my knees in front of his table and said, I want to marry you. And without losing a beat, he said, you're too short. But the story that happened with him, I wonder if he's absorbed as part of his reality. This story, or it's a small piece among so many pieces that he does. But this is the truth. You just have to believe me. I'm in business class, and he's in first class. But I've got a good seat in the front row of business class, so I can go up through first class to go to the bathroom. Now I have to go all the way back. So I do that, and I see Mel Brooks and the most magnificent actress in the world, his wife.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she was. Sitting next to him, and she's reading, and he's not. So I walk by twice, and this is years after I offered marriage, but I knew he wouldn't remember that. And I say hi, he says hi. And I sit on the edge of it's first class, so there's 2 here and 2 here, and I sit on the edge of this other 2. And she's reading and giving me dirty looks because I'm sitting and engaging her husband, and she wasn't thrilled with it for some reason. And he said something like he semi-knew who I was, or what's new, what's going on. And I said, what about you? He said, well, I've been in New York and I've been trying to cast this new thing of mine, and I'm having a terrible time. And I said, what is it? He says, it's a version of my movie, The Producer. Producer? So I said, oh God, great film. Why are you going to do it as a musical? What a crazy idea. And he said, I don't think so. I said, no, he wasn't like Orson. I mean, he said, I don't think so. I think we got a great script and so, but I can't find a guy to play the part that Zero Mostel played in the movie. Right? Wasn't Zero Mostel?
Yeah, it was.
And I said, well, you know, I have a friend of mine named Robbie Bates, John Robert Bates. He's a playwright, and he has just done a play off Broadway called Ms. Lansky and Zelinsky. And I just saw it, and there's an actor in there who would be fantastic.
No, you didn't. Oh my God.
Wow.
But wait a minute. So he says, what's his name? What did I say?
Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane, who was little known then, and was an off-Broadway, but he was respected. But and he said that's impossible. I tried. He's really good, but that's impossible. I said, why? 2 reasons. He said,
He's too
He's too short.
Very funny. Very hip and funny group here. No, he
He's
said,
too gay.
well, he used a Yiddish word for gay.
He's a fagel.
Oh,
He's a
bagel.
Which I wasn't even sure because I don't come from that. I'm Jewish, but I don't come from the Yiddish culture. But I thought I knew what he meant. He said, and this part requires a insanely heterosexual man who is like fucking all these old women, and you know. And so I said, this man can do anything. Are you kidding? He said, well, the other thing is, he's not Jewish. I said, who the fuck cares? He's not Jewish and he's gay? What, how is this gonna, I mean, I'm telling you this is the greatest, this is, you know, and I sold, boy can I sell. I sat there and what's her name? Annie Bancroft is giving me dirty looks. She was not friendly, I have never known her, and I don't know why. She was just not happy with anything I was doing, and but he was involved. He said, "Well, don't you think it has to be?" I mean, Zero was like maniacally heterosexual, very Jewish. I think I need. I said, "You don't. I swear." He said, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, I'm sorry. It's not going to work." And I said, "Okay, I tried. I'm telling you, you're wrong. I don't know." And I got up and left. And then I read in the newspaper about 6 months.
Get out of here!
Not right away. It was 6-7 months later. So I don't know that I deserve credit for it, but I might have put it back in his head after he went and found nobody else and started thinking. But I couldn't have heard that this kid at that point was selling, and I really.
Does Nathan know that?
No.
Oh, you have to tell him.
He's not exactly the kind of guy you hang out with.
Yeah, I know. I used to hang out with him.
He's very shy, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, but still.
So if somebody tells him,
You tell him.
You tell him. Next time I see him.
he was great in that in his landscape.
Maybe
If anyone
guy
saw
great
it.
was
You saw it?
I did, yeah.
Robbie Bates.
I saw the
play.
final dress rehearsal of the producers the night before it opened, and it's the great. I've seen a lot of Broadway shows. It's the greatest show I've ever seen.
Yeah,
in
of
my
course he
life.
was fantastic.
He was.
And the play, I can't even imagine what that play would have been without him.
Isn't that
But
funny?
he's been fantastic in everything. Harry.
When Tanna made that, you know, what you all just read, you know, her little thing when you were filming her the first time, was that before or after she wrote you that letter about deja vu?
Yeah, that's,
You want to get all this stuff.
yeah, but that's when you made him. Come on,
Well,
Tanna.
it was before that. It was after.
It was after, good. Okay, so
But
that's how
you
you
have to
did it.
tell them about the letter now.
Yeah, tell them.
Well, I was doing a play it was like a big group about the Haitian Revolution, and this actor came to rehearsal and said, I just had the best day of working ever with the most genius director in the world. And I said, who is that? He said, Henry Jaglom, and I didn't know who Henry was. And I said, well, he said, he's filming right now. And I said, well, how do I, is there a way I can try to work with him? And he said, well, he's a sucker for anybody who writes him a letter praising his work. And, and one of the girls in Festival in Cannes got the part just because she wrote him and told him how much she loved him. Jenny Gabrielle, and then so he lent me Deja Vu and said, go and write tonight, write him a letter and deliver it, watch the movie and deliver it to his office tomorrow because he's filming Grand Shopping right now. So that night I went home and wrote like a 3-page single-spaced letter about how brilliant Deja Vu was. Went up the next day, hand-delivered it to the office, and got a call from Henry that same day asking me questions about the letter and saying that he loved the letter and all this good stuff. And the actuality of this,
Oh, yeah.
you finish it. You want to finish it? Yeah, you finish it.
4 years later, 4 years later, we have made 2 films and 3 plays together. I'm madly in love.
Wow.
And we're sitting at a restaurant that has just ended its 40-year career in Hollywood.
Juniors? Oh, no.
Mirabelle. And we're sitting in Mirabelle, and she says, I think, now it's like 4 years, 2 plays, and 2 films later, and we're together. And she says, I think it's safe to tell you now. I said, tell me what? I I never saw the movie. You wrote me that brilliant letter about what was so great about it, and every specific, she said, yeah, well, I watched the first few minutes and figured it out. And she was like nervous telling me, even though we were very much together already, and I said, that's the greatest thing I have ever heard. That is what an actor in Hollywood has to do. That is like a lesson that every actor should be told. You know, find the way. Don't just manipulate the shit out of the directors, the producers, whoever are in a position to give you the jobs, and find that and she was surprised by my enthusiastic response, I think. But she totally hustled me, and I've never been luckier in every way.
So what's the next movie about? Ovation.
Ovation takes place entirely backstage. That means we do not see what's on in the theater. We do not shoot outside of the theater, however. We are shooting entirely in the dressing rooms, in the hallway of the Edgewater. The two theaters are playing plays, but we don't know what those plays are. But we're meeting the actors and their relationships and their in the dressing rooms, because it all came about because I hung so wonderfully during just 45 minutes. They ran for almost a year, and I just loved going backstage. I don't do it so much now because there are men. Like this play she's doing now is all men except for her. But that had Harriet and Karen, and at another point Diane Salinger, and it was a more female-friendly and warm and fun environment. And I thought I want to make a play about what it's like backstage. And then I started concocting this little murder mystery, which I've never done before, that takes place in this. But the trick, if I can pull it off, we'll see, is never to see and we can hear sometimes over the speakers that they have in dressing rooms, some of the dialogue, but we don't know what that is. But we get to know the actors and their lives. And the actress that she's playing is in fact Margie Chizik, who became Maggie Chase in two earlier movies, Hollywood Dreams and Queen of the Lot. It is taking her role to the next step. And my son Simon, who you've seen in some of my movies growing up, who's involved in something called lucid dreaming. I don't know if any of you know about this. It's a big thing with him. And I'm trying to use that, and it'll be a comedy drama, as I guess my thing.
Mystery.
With a mystery, a big mystery, a murder mystery.
Sounds wonderful.
So that's fun. And guess who's co-starring with her? Somebody I never heard of. She's been doing this in every movie. She's been deciding who her co-star should be and going out casting like Judd Nelson, casting like Michael Imperioli, casting Noah Wiley. She's got good taste. And now she picked
James Denton, but you'll know, his Desperate Housewives.
Sure.
The cute Terry Hatcher's husband, who's a plumber, and he's
so likable.
He is so likable. And that's exactly it. And when he came in
Very.
to meet me, what I saw immediately was something that reminded me of the kind of movie stars, and I've never had seen this before. By the way, I'm watching it now. It's great. It's such fun. I can't believe this trash is so compelling. In the past 3 days, we've seen 8 episodes, and it's just, oh my God, it's such a good girl watch. You know what I mean?
You're like Eva Longoria for sure.
Huh?
He relates to Eva Longoria the most.
Which one is Eva Longoria?
The cute one who has an affair with the gardener.
Do not. That's so cute. Where was it?
And you do go backstage with the boys.
When you walked into your office.
You always wear cute scarves and you go
Okay,
backstage.
got it.
When you walked in for the interview.
When her co-star walked in for the
The
interview.
interview. I saw something about him. I didn't know anything about him. I haven't seen this series yet. I never heard his name because I don't know him. And there was this interesting thing. He had a thing that reminded me of Henry Fonda and Jimmy Stewart. I don't know if that makes sense to people who didn't watch it. So I'm calling him Stuart Henry, his character, and it is that kind of a good guy.
Like Noah had that.
Right.
40s,
Yeah.
40s quality.
Humble.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but Noah has an intellectual thing that goes with it and a kind of,
Thin man.
Yeah.
James like a guy's guy.
huh?
Kind of like a
Yeah, yeah.
guy's guy.
Who's a guy?
Guy's guy. James.
Yes, but not in a big macho
No,
way.
no.
And that's what's very attractive, and an elegant kind of, but exactly. And I thought that's a very interesting character to play opposite her, and then I started figuring out stuff about using his character. But she does this. She decides on her leading men, and then makes it look like I have an option. and so, you know, and
Well, there's all these great guys on TV who it just happened to find, you know, he booked this series. He was, you know, it was good series for men, but it wasn't great for men. I mean, the
Which
women.
Desperate
Housewives.
was it good for men too?
No, I'm saying it wasn't that great. Like they just had very one-noted performances, and
I think he's good.
so he was in it for 8 years, and now I find him. He's living in Minneapolis. He's moved with his family. You know, Felicity Huffman had said to him, you know, we have the curse now, and you're never going to get hired for anything again. And he didn't. So he moved with his wife and 2 kids, and he's in St. Paul. I'm from Iowa, so I love, you know, theater in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And he's doing regional theater in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and he's just living there permanently and not getting any work. So, you know, Noah was kind of like that too. He was doing kind of, you know, the librarian and stuff, but he hadn't gotten, you know, a really great leading man since that. Since ER. And Judd was the same thing.
Judd Nelson had that big childhood thing.
I feel that there's these men who have such gorgeous talents and should and deserve to be leading men, and women, you know, will go crazy for them if Henry uses them because he's such a romantic person, and the way that he crafts their performances is so beautiful.
What I'd love to do is find the stuff about them that they have not been able to use, really, and or a quality that you see in real life that some of them have. But it's exciting. We're looking forward to it a lot.
Sounds wonderful.
And we've just been discussing you.
Yeah, who has?
Tana and I.
All right. Since you're doing the writing.
discussing whether it fits in, whether it can fit in. This is what was done right in front of my eyes. Literally.
But you told her to.
No, that was no.
No, but you said to.
Lorna.
I know, but you said that every actor in Hollywood should do that.
Very good. We'll see. I'll talk about it.
Also, I was the only person who turned down lunch with Orson Welles.
Really? You want to come up and tell about this?
I told you the
Do
story.
you want to tell them about it?
Sure, tell
Come on.
Tell them what other chance?
That's a hell of a statement. She turned down lunch with Orson Welles.
Wow.
I don't remember.
Last week.
I still don't remember. Ambient.
Speak American
Breaks
now.
your
Let us
memory.
understand.
You're too short for him.
Let her tell a story.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for Orson. I just come from South Africa where we didn't have much TV and we didn't get great movies or anything. And I'm at Mama's on for lunch.
I wouldn't lean on this if I were.
Okay. Vicki does. I'm at Mama's on for lunch with a South African guy, just immigrated, and I'm going to the toilet. So to go to the toilet, I had to go through this little room with just a big fat man sitting there with at a table. So he says to me, "Excuse me, would you like to join me for lunch?" So I said, "No, thank you." Went to the restroom, came back out, had to walk through again where he was sitting. He said, "Can't I twist your arm?" I said, "I hope you never twist my arm." I said, "I can't eat with you, I'm sorry." Walked out. The waiter came running off and he said, "Do you know who that is?" I said, "Some fat man." He said to me, "That's Orson Welles." I said, "That's all very well, but I still don't know who he is." I never had lunch with Orson.
For 45 minutes, you almost were Betsy. You gave this most amazing audition.
Oh, that's right.
That I was so impressed. You're a brilliant actress, and you do things that I could never do, like your containment and your comedy and your presence is just so brilliant.
Oh
and
my
it
God.
was between you and Julie Davis, and I was a fan of Julie Davis since like 2000.
I was offered that job.
By who?
By Gary.
By Gary, and then something really, I didn't ever think this would happen. I thought,
This is
nobody
where
know
we
who I
wash our
am, I'll just
dirty
hide in the
laundry.
Oh, you're
background.
brilliant. You are a brilliant actress.
Gary offered me the job, and he called, and I said, "That's great. I'm very excited. I love it. It's awesome." And I was, and then he said that you had written it so quickly, like you'd written it overnight or something, and you were so excited about it, you were already working on the next draft. And I said, "Well, I can't wait to read the next draft." And then he started talking to me about character development. And I said, "Great. And anytime if Henry wants to talk to me, I'm available to him. That's wonderful." I was just finishing up a show with this fabulous person right here, and I had gone to work. I got the job, and I was like, I have my next show lined up at the Edge tomorrow. I was very, very excited, and I had a whole week off between the closing of that show and the first rehearsal. My husband and I took a long weekend in Vegas, and that Saturday before we were supposed to start on Monday, I called Gary, and I was like, I don't know when I'm rehearsing. I don't know the when and the where, so just give me a call back. And he called me back, and he said, "Well, I'm confused. You said that you wanted script approval." And I said, "I'm sorry, what?" And it was the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in my
Oh, you're the one that
life.
he told me wanted script approval.
And I've never used those words in my life, because at no point have I ever woken up in the morning and thought that I was Meryl Streep and I deserved it. And I said, "You know what? I mean, I thought he was talking to a different actress or something, forgot who I was." And I said, "No, my script approval is reading the script before I do the audition, liking it, and then I go. If I don't like it, I don't waste my time or anyone else's." And so I was like, "Well, you said he was rewriting." I said I couldn't wait to read the next draft, and I didn't know what happened. And he said, "Well, he wanted somebody who liked the script." And I said, "Did I say I didn't like the script?"
I'm sorry. These
And
are
I was crushed, and then I was pissed, and I was really pissed.
You should be.
And then Gary Facebook friended me, and whatever. He invites me to go to free acting classes all the time, and I'm like, "Well, that's nice of you." Whatever. It could have just been some sort of weird misunderstanding or something, and I was like, I don't know what I could have possibly said where the words script approval came out.
So weird.
It was probably, and now it's totally mortifying, and I'm like, I've had emotional
It
couple of
shouldn't be mortifying. I'm so
I was like, no one will recognize me. I'll just sit back and learn something.
And I already told you,
years
maybe you'll have the
ago.
opportunity to talk to him in
And I was
person
like,
in
yeah,
the kitchen.
it's
She
hard.
said, "Oh no, that'll never
I'm
happen."
like, no, not if he thinks that I'm that bitch
That girl.
diva who thinks she needs script approval before she accepts a job. So
You gave a brilliant audition.
Thank
and
you.
There was just a miscommunication because
He gave me 3 of your movies at my first audition.
No,
And
I
went
know.
home and I watched them.
like, that's Betsy.
I went
that's
home and
the-
I watched them, and I was like, I can't wait to work with this chick.
Yeah. Oh.
And then I'm like, oh wow, look, it's being extended again. Well, that's nice. Oh, look at all the great reviews that this show is getting. It's great. Good for them. Oh, look, it's being made into a movie. No, that's great. That's great. That's fine. No, so, it was just, who knows? Things happen
I
for a
always
reason.
wondered what happened.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you take a job right now, sight unseen?
Sure.
You just said sure.
Absolutely. Well, if we're working-
Without reading the script.
I trust you. I've seen 3 of your movies that star her. Because you gave them to me.
You want to be in another movie that stars her?
Sure.
Okay, you got a deal.
Oh don't be sorry. God only knows how any of these
It's
things
going to be
happen.
worthwhile because this one's going to be so much more exciting than Betsy would have been for her. So that's good. Good.
I'm so glad I showed up. Yeah. I almost didn't make it. She had to give me a ride. I didn't have my car, and Amy's like, "I'll pick you up."
You're so amazing.
These things that
Oh
happen,
my God.
these terrible Hollywood things that happen, or just Hollywood or theater things that happen. I made a film called Tracks, starring Dennis Hopper about the end of the Vietnam War thing. And I had only made one film before A Safe Place. And Donald Sutherland and I were very close friends. And Donald Sutherland and I were politically active in an organization that was trying to stop, which was meeting every Saturday night with Jane Fonda and a group of us against the war. And sending out counter performance troops to the Bob Hope pro-war troop thing. And I was writing Tracks, and it was about a sergeant who was bringing a body back ostensibly from Vietnam. But it's about more, hopefully, than that. And Donald Sutherland, I said to Donald, I'd like you to play this part, and Donald said, great. So I wrote the thing, and developed it, showed it to him. He was ecstatic. And then I got a call from his agent, who was also my agent, who later became the head of a big studio. And this agent said to me, listen, I know you and Donald are good friends. And he doesn't want to do anything that'll harm that friendship. But you know, since you and he made this deal, he's become quite famous. And you're offering $50,000, and we've got an offer for $500,000. But he says he can't take it because he's promised to do your film. And do you think that's right? And I said, well, it's up to Donald, isn't it? I said, and he said, sure. And you? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you could let him go. I wouldn't let him know why. You know, you could just make it seem as if you know, somehow it would be so great. He'd feel so relieved. He wouldn't, you know that I'd talked to you, and he wouldn't feel guilty. And I said, look, I don't want to stand in the way of Donald's career. That is a great start. And so I let him go. And I got Dennis Hopper. It turned out fantastically because he was the right neurotic for the part. In a way where Donald would have had to create it, he just had it. If any of you haven't seen it, Tracks, it's an incredible performance by Dennis Hopper. It's one of the great performances. And so then I made the film, and then I had a screening of the film, and I invited my friends, and one of them was Donald Sutherland. Donald came, and after the screening came into my office, tears in his eyes, very moved by the film. Told me how much he loved it, very nice things, and said, listen, there's something I've never understood exactly. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you remember back when you were creating the film, you were cutting A Safe Place, you were creating this film. We talked about my doing the part. I said, yeah, but, you know, I didn't want to hold you back from, he said, well, and he mentioned the agent's name. He said, he told me that you wanted to use Dennis Hopper, but you felt obliged to me because you were...
I hate agents.
Why did he say that? What good was
Because the agent wanted to
Crazy? Because for $500,000 he would make $50,000, and for $50,000 he would make.
I thought he was making that up. Okay.
No, he wasn't making it up.
I see.
Wow.
He would make $45,000, which is the difference, which then is like $150,000.
Did he fire the agent?
His agent, the agent became that. No, he did not fire
Wow.
the agent has become a friend of mine over the years, and of his, and we never, ever, ever talked about it.
Wow.
So I'm really glad you spoke up.
That's just really
and
random.
I'm excited at seeing you because you've got a wonderful quality that I'm looking forward to working with. So I like the way this stuff turns out.
Yeah, I'm all for it, actually.
I don't see any reason I should protect the guy's name is Mike Metaboy. I don't know.
I have no idea.
You all know who that is?
Yeah.
We're going to for lunch.
No.
Thank God Donald Sutherland brought it us to you, so there
Oh,
wouldn't be that
yes.
misunderstanding.
All the time.
But we were both told by the set, you know,
Yeah.
it's a very
I don't think there
dirty.
was anything malicious behind what Gary did, unless he really wanted to use another actress. But I
no.
just think it was.
Yes, it is malicious, I'm sorry, I don't know the word malicious, but it's,
No, he didn't
it's,
do that.
it's covert.
But I think he really thought that she wanted a script to put. I believe he would have done.
Trust me,
He just-
saying I can't wait to read the next script and already accepting the job as opposed to saying I accept it
Okay.
on the condition that I get to read the next one and I like it.
Okay, we got defenders.
You can defend somebody,
He's not
but
here, Leslie.
He's not here, that's true.
that's true.
Okay.
And when he and I talked, we left it fine. I mean, I was really upset and I was just like, I guess it was just some awful misunderstanding and left it at that. And I don't, like I said, I don't think it was ill-intended. I'd like to think it was.
Thank you all very, very, very.
Welcome to my world. This is just what I go through for the privilege of being a girl. Our chromosomes planted the big double